So I'm Mike Mulligan here, and I intend to pretend that this is a 2.206. Uh, uh, and I just want you to know that these events we're talking about, I'm trying to explain, are the components. They're nuclear power plant. It's so complex. They're huge machines, and they got so many moving parts. The language is so complex around these issues, and the ideas that go with it and stuff. And the NRC is again, it's a complex organization, and it's not it's not a machine there. It's a bunch of people, and they all have different type of personalities and stuff. Then we live in a complicated society with a complicated grid and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. This is hard stuff. This is really hard to explain, and I'm the least capable, probably, one should be talking about these things, but it falls to me. And it's hard. It's very difficult. I've had a hard time trying to explain this stuff all of my life, and it's none of this stuff is easy. So I'm going to go over the timeline on just the SRV issues. April, May 2011, they got new SRV valves in that outage installed. They had two-stage SRV valves that caused them problems, and they were inaccurate. The pressure testing was inaccurate a lot of times, and they got rid of them, and they installed three-stage valves. Supposedly, they're advertised as a mature component, mature design, and been in nuclear power plants since God was invented. So anyways, December 26, 2011, that's 7-8 months. Pilgrim first has their first leak, and they are shut down in a 3-day outage. January 20th, 2013, the second leak. A year or so later, in another 3-day outage, then the third leak develops on February 3rd, 2013, restricted to 80% power. That's a pretty good leak, as you'll see. If they're down to 80% power, and they're debating what they're going to do, and they were going to probably they were going to run the rest of the time. They got an outage this month, at the end of this month sometime. So they were intending on February 3rd to run with those leaking valves until the outage and stuff. February 6th, Pilgrim admitted leaking plant to the media. I seen that down power and made comments about it all over the internet and stuff. And they were the NRC and Energy were going to not tell anybody. If nobody's seen it, they would have gone to the outage and never admitted this leaking stuff, type of thing. So God took it out of your hands. On February 8th, the Nemo blizzard struck. The plant was in 2 loops, and they were without outside electricity for 2 or 3 days, and it was a mess, type of thing. On February 16th, they did a startup from the blizzard trip. With the 2 plant trips, and then another one is leaking and stuff like that. You should never allow the plant to start up with knowingly defective safety relief valves. Something's wrong with them relief valves, and they should have never started up until they had a reliable, durable safety relief valve installed. In order to do that, it's probably had been a year shutdown, or 6 months shutdown, or a real long shutdown to do it right and stuff. but that's the price they ought to pay as far as if they can't hire vendors and suppliers of components and stuff like that to bring on reliable and durable components and stuff. The only way you get these guys to change their behavior is they pay a price for that. They shut down for 2, 3, 4 months and stuff like that. So they started up in the blizzard. They probably only repaired one. They probably just changed out that bad valve with a standby other valve type of thing. They might have done some testing on the other ones. Who knows? And stuff like that. And then 10 days later, on February 6th, it leaks again, and they're restricted to 94% power. Remember the first one this year, only leaked at it leaked at they were restricted to 84% power. This guy's not so bad supposedly, so it's at 94% power. Then on March 30th, 2013, power restricted 85% power. I had to call the public relations guy, the NRC guy, and I had to, tell him I had inside information that Mike, there's another SRV leaking 10 days after their shutdown, and woe to us. So I had to tell Neil Shaheen that I presented it as these are the facts, and you got another SRV leaking, and what are your comments on it? And then he kind of mumbled and hemmed and hawed a little bit, and he says, "Oh, that's right, we do have another leak on it." If I didn't know what it was, he wouldn't have admitted it and that type of thing. So March 30th, 2003. So that months after the startup, that leak on the 26th, they were going to go through the outage. They were going to wait until the outage to repair that. Well, even back before the blizzard on that valve back in February 3rd. They looked like they were intending to not have that replace that valve and just try and slide through until the outage here. April, it's going to be in the end of 27th or something like that. Type of thing. So you see the nature of this thing, how brand new valves and all these troubles. So, and I was going to remind the NRC yesterday. There was a newspaper article, and they talked about when the third leak showed itself. They reminded everybody here that the NRC's realizes that Energy has had a lot of recent shutdowns. They had 3 last May. The reactor screamed from degrading condenser vacuum due to a valve failure. January 10th, reactor scram due to the trip of both recirculating pumps due to personal error during testing. And January 20th, reactor shut down to a leaking relief valve. These safety relief valves have been... And then it talks about, the NRC with 7,000 hours, they only look past the last 5,000 hours or 3 quarters. Or what have you, it's kind of very limited their attention span as far as bad components and shutdowns, and they were probably running away from this. When they seen these SRVs, the second shutdown, and then the NRC warning them that you're having too many shutdowns, and we're getting ready to do an investigation on why you're having so many shutdowns, and so that's probably half the reason why they attempted to slide out without another shutdown to replace those safety relief valves. So I read this to him. This is the one that right off the bat I first read this one. This is a quote from my Palisades, February 22nd, 2011, 2.206. These are quotes. I got it out of my transcript. Got that one recorded too. I was trying to get them a flavor. It's an organization that's dysfunctional from a long ways back. Look at how, I was talking about wondering what the future was going to bring to us, realizing that the NRC is not going to be able to control these guys. And then they had they risked human health, life and health, with inappropriate activities around a DC malfunctioning DC panel. The prior outage, they didn't repair it right, they didn't replace it right, and they discovered it, and then they tried to fix it at power when anybody with a brain would have said that's just too dangerous, and we got to shut down and do it and fix it right without the threat of a plant trip or an electrocution. DC power, that's all the safety stuff that's on it, and so in order to isolate it, you got to live without safety equipment, or you got to cross connect one safety equipment to another one, and it that brings in all sorts of problems and stuff like that. So I'm trying to say, okay, I'm trying to be anticipatory, with this stuff. I'm trying to say what's the next 2 years, 10 years, or 2 years in front of us going to bring to us. Quote, don't you wish you had a button on your computer where it would give you a yellow, red, and green light? How are you doing right now? How will the whole of energy do in a year, 2 years, or 5 years? Where will the NRC be stationed in the next decade? It's going to boggle the mind with what the NRC discovers in the next year or two at Palisades, just like the last year. I say they're going to find bigger and more repetitive problems. Nothing of this is in our nation's long-term interest, making the world better for us. We're going to continue to be astonished by what we don't know about the plant, what they are doing behind the secrecy of the security fence. This is where that guy Guzman broke in. He was fed up hearing he was fed up hearing what I was saying. Quote again, history teaches us unimaginable things are going to go on behind the security fence of Palisades, and the NRC misses the really big important stuff. Better, the NRC doesn't have the power to make energy meet the greater ends of us all. So, I'll always talk about contextual context. This is just not a. This is the SRVs is, you just can't look at this thing in the isolated technicalities of the valve itself. It's contextual. This is all big systems and human beings and bosses and worker bees all interacting and stuff like that. And it's half the trouble we get into is we don't see the big picture. We all just take a narrow segment of it and deal with that narrow segment and don't look what's going on behind the scenes and stuff. And so that's what I was trying to, this is before energy got into they had a lot of trouble before that, and I was saying they was heading towards big troubles and predicting they were heading towards big troubles. And this is what the NRC hates, is people trying to anticipate and trying to get a handle on what the future will hold for us and that type of stuff. And so in contextual context, the context is in this Arkansas nuclear plant 1, that they dropped their stator in the turbine building and stuff, and they killed the guy, and they injured 8, 2 or 3 very seriously, and stuff like that, and they all knew I was heading in this direction. Is that killing a guy, energy killing a guy, wouldn't have happened if they would listen to me. You know, got a handle on energy early, and this just stuff is just building up, and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, they knew I was heading to this direction about talking about the SRVs. It is directly related to Arkansas nuclear plant. The stator falling down. You know, it's an ideology. It's a system. It's a management theology. It's a management ideology. It's a management religion here. We're talking about a set of rules and cultures and agreements between people and stuff that causes these things. So you know, that's what I've been trying to say all along here. That if we thought in broader terms, we would get a handle on these problems and stuff. And the NRC knows that that's a big event that's going on here. Another thing that's been kept in secrecy and stuff. And it's an attitude that they're threatened with natural gas. There's a lot of poor behaviors going on, a lot of incidences and stuff like that, and it's worsening. And the plants are shutting down over the natural gas issue. Energy is threatened in a host of plants in New England and stuff like that. People are terrified. They feel threatened and insecure, and the NRC feels insecure, and energy feels insecure, and stuff over this whole thing. And so this is the context of, you know, why were they mistreating me? Why at this point in time yesterday were they mistreating me and stuff? And it's up to you to decide why they were mistreating me. And so, you know, and then I didn't get to say this, but I was going to say this because he interrupted my thought, and I thought I'd inflame him more. What you got to know is that when I go into a 2.206 deal, you know, I'm talking to the NRC, talking to yesterday didn't have too many people there talking to me. At other times they've had, like, you know, 15, 20 senior NRC guys, you know, PhDs, and different department heads are forced to listen to me, type of thing. I mean, they set the 2.206 process up for that. They didn't want, in the past, you know, if you had an insider or an outsider had an issue, and you just, they didn't have a process. And if you threw a letter into, you know, the NRC, or a complaint, or called on the telephone, it would get thrown in a corner. And the NRC would say, "Oh, we lost it. Our system is so big, we lost it," and stuff. And you can't blame us. You know, plausible deniability, whether that was thrown in the corner or not, that's another issue, and stuff. And so, you know, when they were writing the 2.6 thing, this is, I think it was a congressional thing, deal, and stuff like that with the safety people. They said, well, you know, you got to force the NRC to listen to these people. You got to create a structure and a requirement, procedures, and you got to force the NRC officials to sit down with these people and listen to them for what they have to say and stuff, and then you have to record it. So, you know, if you play funny stuff with this, then you'll have the record. You'll have it on the records, and you can be held accountable. I mean, that's the nature of the 2.206 process, was a vehicle to hold the NRC accountable, to get your problems done on a piece of paper and get it in the NRC system, and you know, and force the system to at least hear you once, give them a shot, and if things go south, then you can hold them accountable, and Congress can punish them. And I mean, that's what the nature of the 2.206. It's not a technical thing. It's not a not necessarily an enforcement type of thing, a court proceeding, a legal proceeding type of thing, which the agency makes it out to be that technical legal deal where you never have where I never have enough proof. This was something bigger. It was to knowing how dysfunctional the NRC was on receiving prior complaints. This was a way that you could, people and environmental groups could get your thoughts and ideas on the paper, and hopefully the NRC would you would force a group of senior NRC officials to hear what you had to say. It was not voluntary; it was mandatory according to directives and procedures and rules, and that was a way of protecting society. That was the deal of protecting society. This wasn't a deal of just a technical issue on the SRV valves. This was a process that was meant to be bigger than a technical issue type of thing. And over the years, with the utilities and influencing politicians and all that sort of stuff, it's gotten more legalistic for a guy like me, and they've been allowed to hide more information and stuff like that. So on one side they're hiding all the information, on the other side there's strict rules that define what evidence we have to have evidence before the NRC acts on a person like me. Most of these things are ignored and all that sort of stuff. So that's the nature of the 2.206. Of course, I wouldn't have said that if I was in that. Yesterday, I'm just trying to explain a little bit. So this next thing is probably they all seen this coming, because it's been on the internet since this first began. Remember, Arkansas, one person died, and a whole bunch of people got sick, injured. The other plant, the neighbor plant, it was stripped off the line because too many vibrations, and the fire system. There was a broken pipe in the fire system and destroyed a breaker panel and stuff. And so one was shut down and refueled, and the other one was operating, got tripped. It's going to be a 3 week, maybe a month outage in order to fix the was operating one, and they don't know the nature of how much damage, although it's significant to the turbine building. There was a lot of damage. That might have destroyed the turbine building of a nuclear plant here. If they can destroy the primary containment, certainly if the turbine building's destroyed, you think they're going to repair it? But so, anyways, context. We're human beings. We're not look at things in slivers of information. We're contextual hogs. We see the whole world in front of us, and evolution has designed us to be highly attuned to our environment, in the context of our environment, and be responsive to the stimuli, and to remember, have fantastic memory, and to associate current events with past memory, and to get that little bit of an advantage over another species, or maybe and that type of thing. And we're so. Consciousness is a miracle. It's something computers. I don't think we'll ever have the ability to have what we have in our consciousness, and our ability of all the different conscious centers in our brains we interact with this world in a manner of like three-dimensional or multi-dimensional, as far as memory and past and future and anticipatory and stuff. Human beings have this unbelievable capability to be aware of our environments, and to and to navigate our way through the world in an anticipatory manner type of thing. We don't necessarily just sit there in the framework of our current stimuli. We remember our past stimuli. We're a miracle. When the Bible and all that sort of stuff says that all of us are unbelievably beautiful human beings, and I think that's what it means. We have this consciousness, this ability to our brains to soak in all this information and memorize it and synthesize events and to act in a way that anticipates our future and stuff like that. And then when you get done talking to the NRC, in this legalistic, rules-based type of thing, and little filaments of information and fragments of procedures and stuff like that, that's a sin against our consciousness of what we're capable of. And they enforce this consciousness on us, this fragment of consciousness on us about what the rules say, what evidence is shown to you or is available, and all that sort of stuff. This is a sin on our spirituality, on our consciousness of who we are as the human beings. I've had a very hard time with this game they're playing, with these rules and selective information and all. I've had a very hard time as far as, because it's a sin against humanity when they act like that. It's a sin against intelligence. It's a sin against operating these complex machines in our complex society in a way that benefits us all. This fragments of our world that these guys go on and they spit back at me and they frame it in these very fragmented slices of reality. It doesn't serve our society well. This is the reason why that the industry has been in this has been stagnant for the last 30 years. This is why most of these plants are obsolete and stuff like that. Why they couldn't have shifted into current technology and stuff, because nobody trusts them. They can't take care of the fuel. They give it to the government to handle and stuff like that. Most of these guys are fanatical right-wingers and stuff, and so that's how I think they misuse us and stuff. They're all doing this for a couple pennies, most of them, and that thing, and they don't see our magnificent spirituality and our astonishing consciousness type of thing, and it's not serving us, and it's not servicing the nuclear industry well. If they were more open and wide and forward thinking, we would have been out 20 years ago or 30 years ago. This old technology, we would have transitioned into a more modern technology. We had a few plants out there that was at the cutting edge, and we would have had a much more secure feeling as a society as far as these guys making our electricity for us. But anyways, here I am, back in February 22nd, 2011. I'm trying to say, well, how would a big event? How would two working buds discuss issues? What would they think about a big event happening at the plant? A little bit of worker sarcasm and all that sort of stuff. Because most of the workers know the shortcuts going on and that type of thing, and they're just surprised that they haven't all gotten into a lot more trouble. If you knew all the sins they were doing, you'd say, how come we didn't get into more trouble than we have been in? That in itself is a miracle. And so I'm just trying to use the voice of these worker guys, kind of, trying to explain the story to them 2 or 3 years later on. Wouldn't you want to be on the Palisades refuel floor for the heart-thumping loud bang and vibrations coming down from a dropped reactor head by a crane? How neat would that be for a worker with the industry? How neat would that be for a worker with industry bragging rights? I was there for the 10 seconds it took for the head to rattle and smash through multiple floors to the basement floor. they could be saying by my age, that was the neatest 10 seconds in my life, besides when I was alone with Linda Lou when I was 17. News at 11 p.m. IC Energy thinks it's more efficient to not follow procedures in an outage. So they had a big crane in the reactor building that they weren't following procedures with. They repetitively weren't. They were missing inspections on this crane that they use on the refueling floor. And so, and the NRC dinged them on it, and, I was trying to talk about it in the perspective like maybe somebody's not on a refueling floor, and, I've moved a lot of fuel around in my younger days, with the little crane, on the refueling floor. I watched everything being done, moving the head, taking the head off. I moved many big bundles of fuel, took it out of the core, way down in the core, and latched it onto the handles in the core, and lifted the glowing fuel bundle and put it in the refuel floor many a times, and that type of thing on old antiquated equipment back in the 1990s. So so I was being a little sarcastic, but then you sit there and you say, well, and Pilgrim knows this. All the NRC guys know this context of this terrible accident that happened with an energy plant in Arkansas. It's mind-boggling how big it is. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a safety issue, but how mind-boggling big it is. In operators, in the employee's sense of what's going on. How could somebody drop a stator, a 600-ton stator in a turbine building? I mean, how could you just not know that, dropping 600 tons of metal, even an inch or 2 inches would be an enormous risk, and stuff. And they dropped it down probably 2 floors. They probably dropped it down 40 feet to the bottom and to the ground level. I don't know what was down below the ground level in the turbine building. There's a lot of in Vermont Yankee. There's a lot of there's the condensate pumps and the feed pumps down below, and a lot of power stations or breaker stations and all that sort of stuff. From a person that's in an employee stand, I'm telling you, they find this business at Arkansas One is an enormous issue and stuff, and we'll see yet if that number one is repaired. That might be our next question and stuff. And so as I just talked about, an organization and a system, and how do I express it? And this is how I express it. I could get you the technical stuff a little bit and stuff like that, but I tell it by stories. Little stories. About a guy wondering about if I had a little button on my computer and it knew everything about the Pilgrim plant. And I could push that button, and it could know exactly all of the deficiencies and rule breaking in the next year, and stuff, or 2 years or 5 years. If I could get this window of seeing how we're heading and look inside it, would that be enough to change my behavior? Would all these problems building up and stuff like that, and seeing it in 2 years and being astonished by all the crap that's going on, dropping 600 ton stator, risking human life in the DC thing over in Arkansas, one lying to the Senate, state Senate in Vermont. Putting yourself in that position where a senator could call you a liar and stuff like that. All these things. If you could see that, all these dysfunctions of energy, 2 or 3 years or 5 years, it's intensifying. Would that be enough to get you to change your tune and change what you're doing in a big way, and not just go through procedures and more employee surveys and more fleet-wide training that doesn't change a thing? Where does it get you to really change behaviors and change attitudes and create a new world for you, create a new pathway, not where you're heading with what all you're doing now is, but a change in heart, and a change in behavior, and doing things the right way. What would it take? I always said, well, all it is a matter of power. If I had enough power, if the government had enough power, and they had enough good people with good hearts, and they were given power to serve us, right? Nobody trusts government, so they strip all the power away from the NRC, and they just get to spin through rules that don't mean anything, and stuff like that. But what if you use power constructively and for the good of us all? And a company like Energy can't, even anticipate the future type of thing, that the future horror that's in store for them and stuff. Yet they're all caught up in this penny pinching, militaristic, competitive world where it turns us all into enemies against each other, and stuff. And we all see this in realms of our lives where and there's very few little saints. We're all mostly competitive animals when it gets down to it, and we all do a lot of sins, and probably me the most, and that type of stuff. So you would hope that the a government authority who gets their power from our Constitution and is controlled and stuff like that, we could have a power where they could say, okay, Energy, your day is done of acting like this. You're going to change, or we're going to shut down all your plants, or we're going to shut down 5 of your plants or 2 of your plants until you change your tune. And maybe if Energy knew that, oh shit, they got the power, and I got these events in my eyes where they have shut down plants and created enormous stress and heartburn for other executives. Maybe just that fear of that thing will get a company like Energy to change their tune, but there's none out there. This thing has all been, this anti-government stuff. This is taking people taking power away from government and being mistrustful of government. This is where we are, and you get a really a weak agency like the NRC, and they like to step it through the rules a bit and not tick off any of the big utilities and stuff like that. And they got pretty good lives, all of them. The NRC people, they make good money and stuff, and a lot of benefits, and they got their families to feed and their vacations and their new cars and all that sort of stuff to risk, and nobody wants to take a risk and stuff. Everybody wants to go through life in la la land, right? And not disrupt the boat, not disrupt the boat and stuff, and certainly not threaten your family's lives or your children's education, or the new coats they wear, or whatever you want to call it, and their new computers and all that sort of stuff. No. We're too enthralled with our consumerism and status all around us, and so nobody wants to make a move, right? Except crazy guys like me, and we're all in the status quo and frozen in our positions, and we see all these terrible events in front of us in the past, in our recent past, and this amazing conscience that we have. We most of us all know what's going to happen in front of us. I have a pretty good idea. All of evolution has brought us to this point where we can anticipate the future. We all can, we all have all these events that happened at our plants, and these relationships, memories of relationships and stuff, and we had this amazing ability to anticipate problems, but the system around us freezes us. It puts us into la la land. It got us terrified, and nobody wants to take a stand and change our future. So, or where are we? So we've gone over that. What I talked. I tried to think about what would happen if a big chunk of metal fell, and how that would, how would we talk about that? A big chunk of metal fell in a nuclear power plant, in this case, Palisades, over a NRC description and stuff. And I kind of sensed that if they were doing that, if they were that lackadaisical with outage stuff, with cranes and all that sort of stuff, it's probably all over the place. That's experiences teaches me that if it's a single organization, right, going by a set of codes that they all agree upon and stuff. If one thing over here is they're doing one thing over here, then they're probably doing it everywhere, and it's probably acceptable behavior and stuff. They're probably trained to behave like that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. I'm not a rocket scientist, but you kind of figure this out yourselves if you really got down to it. And of course, here we are with this Arkansas one. Anyways, this is the first installment of potential. What I would have said yesterday. Try and change hearts. Thank you.